treetops and twig tips coated in ice, as though dipped in crystal. The once flexible branches now crackled and snapped under their shimmering burden. Most healthy trees can cope with the added weight. However, I would discover before day's end that the branches above our tarped cabin weren't so able. I began my morning at the sawmill, like I often do. My plan was to finish off the interior of my snowmobile camper with some thinly milled cedar boards. Now that the snowmobile camper is almost complete, I will soon be taking it on a series of overnight trips. Those episodes are to come, but I have some work to complete at the cabin site first, starting with the overhanging roof logs. As you can see, the purlins are slightly shorter than the ridgepole and eave logs. To make them equal, I will need to trim the ridgepole and eave logs back.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Well, you know.
So basically you just have to cut off the ridgepole and
Eave logs. As I climbed higher to measure and cut the ridgepole, the ice-laden branches loomed higher still. It wouldn't be long now until one of those dying branches would give way.
Yep, there it is.
While my dad and I continued to work on the cabin, we heard a loud thud on the cabin roof. A branch had broken loose from above and made several gashes in the roof tarp. Now mind you, the gashes were small, about 3 inches or so, and the branch was relatively small as well. But what worried me was that the branch fell from one of the dying maples, which so happened to be leaning precariously over the cabin. And if a small branch could do this much damage, how much more could a medium or even large branch do? Not just to the cabin, but more importantly to us, or others who may come to visit the cabin. As you can see, there are plenty of branches way up, and most of them are actually over the cabin. So I am concerned that if I leave it any longer, that some big branches might start breaking off and landing on the cabin, which would obviously be devastating to the tarp. But even once I get the tin roof on, it just won't be good. It won't be safe. So I'm going to take it down today. When I originally started building the cabin within this natural clearing, I decided that I wanted to remove as few trees as possible. But I built pretty close to some. And so I'm realizing now that they should come out. Half of them aren't doing well anyway. So we're gonna make it safer today by removing those dead trees, getting them away from the cabin, and that'll give me some peace of mind this winter. So there you go. I'm gonna get started. The tree is now ready. All I have to do is the back cut to bring it down. But looking ahead here, I have a pretty small margin for error. I'm aiming to take it down between this nice big cedar and there's an older maple here. So I want the tree to fall right down in this gap. So we'll see how good my aim is with a chainsaw. Well, it dropped exactly where I wanted it to. So before I go over there and check out where it landed, I'm gonna go over here and look at the stump. And it looks really good. You can see here all these little spiky fibers. That's the hinge wood. And you can see this discoloration here all around the stump. And that's some nice spalting, I believe. And so that'll actually look really nicely on the sawmill. And you can see back here, this is the back strap. So I did a plunge cut and cut out, and I had my wedges set in. So once I released it at the back here, the tree would be pushed in the right direction. Okay, let's go take a look at the other end. The good news is that with any tree that I take down here, it won't go to waste, and most of them are dead standing anyway. The main part of the trunk here would actually make some really nice live edge lumber on my sawmill, especially with the spalting that it has all through it. So I might work out a deal with my grandpa to buy this section off of him, and I bite off of him because, of course, this is his land that I'm working on, so this is his tree. But this here for sure I will cut up into firewood and give to my grandpa no matter what, and we'll see what happens with this end here, whether it's firewood or live edge lumber. Right off the bat, you can see this clump of cedars to the right and this maple to the left, and I was able to bring the tree straight down through the gap, and I don't see any major branches broken off. Yeah, I don't really see anything. We'll go over here and take a closer look. Hey, there you go, look at that. There's a small fir here that I also wanted to avoid. I was a little worried that it might be taken down when the tree fell, but as you can see here, I aimed the tree a little bit to the left of it, and it came down just to the left. I think it probably grazed it on the way down. And just to the right of this maple tree. So not only did I avoid this great clump of cedars here, I've also managed to miss this smaller fir, which is great news. As I look on the ground here, I don't see any other damage to any other trees. There's a pile of brush over here, and that's from something else. And wouldn't you know it, there's a little dead standing tree here that obviously rotted and fell over, got snagged up there. I thought for sure that the maple was going to take this down, but the maple obviously fell just short of it. And so even the dead wood was spared, I guess. From the looks of it, the only thing that has come down here is the maple that I took down, which is great. It couldn't have gone any better than that. So the first thing I'm gonna do is break my chainsaw out, get all this cut up into firewood, and over here to the main section of the trunk, I'm gonna cut it up into longer lengths for now to see whether it's destined for the sawmill or for the woodshed. But anyway, let's get to work. Okay, I have the two sections of trunk cut up, and over here all of the brush is nicely cleaned up, and I got as much firewood out of it as possible, which I stacked underneath the cabin. And the firewood and the trunks will stay here until spring, which is when I can move them out of here. I thought I'd take a moment here and show you a little behind the scenes of what goes into filming these episodes. The problem with being outside, working outside all day in the winter time, is that all of my camera batteries are lithium ion, and lithium ion batteries don't do so great in the cold. And so I've had to keep them warm while I'm working here. So right now I'm using my snowmobile camper here as my battery tending station. So I put all my batteries in here and my cameras that I'm not using, so they're out of the weather. This is an insulated camper that they can stay in, and I've got them all wrapped up here actually in an electric blanket, and it keeps them nice and warm so the batteries they aren't depleted because of the cold. This is the power station that I'm using, and this isn't a paid sponsorship, but Jackery did send this to me to try out along with a solar panel, and I've really been enjoying it. So I just thought I'd show you. This is a 500 watt hour power station. It's got several USB ports, which I've got my GoPro charging station hooked into. It's got a regular plug there, and I've got the electric blanket, 12 volt electric blanket plugged into the cigarette lighter. As well, I've got this whole power pack sitting on top of the electric blanket as well, so it's also heating itself. Of course, this is also a lithium ion battery power pack, so it needs to be kept warm during the course of the day. And outside I've got a solar panel on the roof, but it's probably not producing too much current right now because it is a cloudy day, it's covered in snow. But that's another great thing about this power station is that you can actually see the outgoing wattage. So right now I'm using 46 watts to charge my batteries and run the blanket, and you can see here that there are 2 watts coming in. So the solar panel is not picking up a lot of sunlight right now, but it is picking up a little bit, which is nice. So there you go. That's my my behind the scenes setup for keeping my batteries alive and charged. So if you want to check out that power station and the solar panel that comes with it, I'll be sure to include a link in the description below. Well, that's it for today. I have some more work that I have to tend to, but I think I'll end the episode here. Until next time, my friends.